Iron and Infrastructure Podcast Introduction. The podcast that ties together fitness and construction, shifting the industry narrative and giving insight on how to become a business owner while living life under the bar, weightlifting, personal development, the infrastructure industry, and how to merge the two worlds to achieve prosperity. I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery. All stand and applaud, please.
This episode is brought to you by R&R Pipeline, an infrastructure company. Our purpose? Enhancing America's infrastructure with a safety-driven, integrity-led culture that provides an environment for team members to grow and thrive. Welcome back to another edition of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast. And then on today's show, someone that has truly inspired me that it's never too late to change your life. It's never too late to identify your purpose, to overcome lifelong obstacles, potentially generational obstacles that were kind of handed down. Someone that understood the reality of the situation after a couple doctor's visits and completely is changing the landscape for generations to come. A friend of mine, very proud of him. We work together now. Josh Akers, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Jake.
So this has been a long time coming. Josh has an incredible story about a weight loss journey that revolutionized his life, his family's life. It's changed everything. It's a humbling, inspiring story to hear, and I can't wait for everyone to get a glimpse of it. So Josh, let's start right with the good stuff. Let's get right into fitness, wellness, the iron and infrastructure part of it all. So the iron, let's start with it. So start a few years ago with your doctor's appointment and kind of what were you told during that appointment and what transpired afterwards?
Yeah. So yeah, right around 4 years ago, just felt awful, just mentally and physically, right? Hadn't been to the doctor in quite a while. I knew I was heavier weight-wise than I'd ever been in my entire life. Decided to make an appointment, went in, had the blood work done, and just received everything that I knew that I didn't want to hear, but it was obvious that it was going on, right? I knew my blood pressure was high. Cholesterol was not horrible yet, but the one that really hit me hard was when they called with the results and they said that I was a type 2 diabetic, which that's the one, blood pressure, I guess, can be dealt with, but the type 2 diabetic was the one that really just hit me hard. Like,
Yeah.
I've known so many folks that have dealt with that, type 1 and type 2, and I knew that was, it freaked me out.
So going to that stage, if, it's something that isn't fixed, becoming a diabetic's one thing, being a diabetic from a young age or whatnot,
Right.
you have more time to learn how to live with it. But, the habits leading you to becoming a diabetic is not a desired path, obviously.
No.
But what you do after is really the big thing. Adversity in life is always going to happen, but how you react to it. So what did the doctors want you to do at that point?
So yeah, it was an immediate. We're calling you in a prescription for metformin. We're going to get you on. I think it was 500 milligrams. I can't remember. I'm trying to process all of it. Again, I just got the called the doctor back. She said, "I'm calling your prescription in. Where do you want it called into?" Gave her the pharmacy. But yeah, just get you started on some metformin and then do a follow-up visit in 4 months and see if it's any better.
No training protocol, no diet regimen, nothing.
Nothing. I mean, they had suggested, with my weight, that I need to watch what I eat.
Did they give you any guidelines at all? On
nothing. They asked if I wanted to. No, they didn't even ask that. No, honestly, it was straight to a prescription. You need to lose some weight. No real guidance on that, obviously.
Right.
And diet.
So let's talk about your mental state leaving that appointment, and then what transpired after that with you.
Yeah. So that was the big part of it. So the mental side of it for me was the anxiety side of it, right? So I think along with anybody, at that time, especially being extremely unhealthy, I dealt with a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic. So yeah, getting the news that you're a type 2 diabetic, I don't even know what that means.
Right.
Right. I'm trying to figure out, what does that mean? Did I have to do the insulin shot? I
Yeah.
had no clue. Right. I didn't even know what that meant. But yeah, the panic set in. The mental side of it was just a ton of anxiety, a ton of panic, because I'm not real big on, I've never been real big on taking pills.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to take a pill to fix something I know. I went straight online, started researching the side effects of the metformin that she wanted to prescribe me, right? And I'm trying to figure out in my own head, through all this panic and anxiety, well, which is worse? My blood sugar being a little high, or all the side effects that come along with this prescription that she wanted me to take, right?
Yeah.
So it took some time just to kind of process all that. Went home, talked to my wife about it, and just made the conscious decision after, a lot of anxiety, that I think I can fix this on my own. I don't think that I have to take a prescription. So I followed up with the doctor. Hey, how about this? Can I change what I'm doing? Because everything that I'm doing up until this point is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Diet, no exercise, just stagnant, just horrible lifestyle, right? Horrible. 371 pounds at that time, heaviest I've ever been.
Right.
I'm 6'5", I'm a big guy anyway, but 371 is obviously extreme, right? So I talked to the doctor, said, hey, how about this? Give me a month, right? Give me a month. Let me make some changes in my diet. Let me make some changes in what I'm doing, exercise, whatnot. And she was good with that. It wasn't high enough to where it was, I needed to be on prescription right now.
Right.
I wasn't in any danger.
You had a little bit of a trial period,
yeah,
right?
I wasn't in any danger of going into any kind of diabetic coma. But so yeah, she agreed to that. I was kind of surprised by that. She actually said she'd like for me to start the prescription anyway, but I made that conscious decision that I'm going to change what I've got going on, because this is not a good direction.
What you're doing is not working at that point, right?
No.
And you know that.
And at that time, I'm a dad, right? So I'm a father. I have 3 kids at the time, and that's all I can think about. Like, what's this doing to me for my longevity with my kids, right?
And
with my wife.
And what is it doing to their mental state also?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Dad's willing to go and live this lifestyle, right? We're both leaders, now at the same organization. We're both with R&R Pipeline, which that's another story that we'll get to in a little bit, which is absolutely amazing in itself. But, you're leading other people. And if you're leading people and your decisions are bad, your habits are bad, are you really a leader?
Yep.
And, the place you're at before R&R, you achieved a ton of success at a very high level in spite of your bad habits, right?
Right.
Everything happened and went well, but your habits sucked.
No, it was terrible.
But the best thing that ever happened to you was that doctor's appointment now, looking back.
Honestly, yeah.
But you needed that smack in the face, right?
I did. Yeah.
So let's
Reset.
talk. Yeah, I mean, it just completely changed everything. It could have changed everything and made it worse, but let's go ahead and continue. So talk about what happened. Doctors agreed to not put you on medication.
Yep.
And then what did you do?
So yeah, I just, started, I actually went and seen a dietitian. I have high blood sugar, trying to figure out what is it that I need to eat? What do I need to stay away from? I never looked at diet. I knew that pizza and fast food wasn't good for me. But up until then, I'd managed to get away with it, right?
It was
not really
fair to say that you were unaware of what health looked like.
Right,
Yeah.
100%. My idea of health was, if I go to McDonald's and I get a chicken salad or chicken nuggets, I eat chicken, so that's healthy.
Right.
Chicken's good for you, right? So that was my experience or my education as far as healthy food went.
Is extremely common in our industry.
100%.
Fast food is, it's fast and it's food.
Yep.
And most of the time it's cheap. People in the blue collar workforce, the pipeline, side of it, in the field, are always looking for convenience and cheap. And there's normally a lack of preparation the night before that leads to the panic, pulling to Speedway for breakfast and then McDonald's for lunch, whatever it may be, because it's convenient at the time, right?
Well, I'd feel super proud of myself that I ate Captain D's and Long John Silver's for the week, because I ate fish all week, right? That's healthy too.
Yeah, right.
I just had no clue. So,
Right.
So yeah, I went and seen a dietitian. She did help me out a lot with, this is what you need to stay away from, right? But I knew ultimately, just from doing my own research, that I needed to start moving. That was it. Just move.
Hydration, movement, them were the first two steps every time, right?
I had reached a spot with the previous employer that I wasn't doing any more manual labor anymore. Everything was with a computer and a pen.
Mm-hmm.
My mobility was gone. You know, I wasn't walking. I wasn't doing anything.
Right.
Prior to that, I think I just kind of got away with it because I was in the ditch, right?
Well, even when you're in the field, you know,
I was in the field.
Overseeing crews, you were still out walking around a little bit.
Out walking, 100%.
You know, and then as you transition into a higher level role where it's a lot more computer-based training and development and sitting down, we lose track very easy of posture, hydration, just sitting there, you know. You don't get really thirsty when you're sitting there. When you're out running around, you get thirsty more often, especially in the wintertime. Like you don't really get that thirsty in the winter. You got to force yourself, and it's got to be a cognitive thing. There's almost got to be a reminder for you to take drinks of water when it's not hot out. So you transition this new role, you get the bad breaking news, and then you start working out. So you start moving, right? Then what?
Started moving, mostly just getting out and going for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's legitimately, if anybody asks me now, that's where to start. Just if you're not mobile, just get out and walk.
Yeah.
Like, and I'd read that one thing that can help tremendously with, you know, blood sugar is as soon as you eat, just go for a 5-10 minute walk.
One of the 10-minute walk after eating is one of the best things you can do for digestion.
Oh,
and
okay.
you know, but also for blood sugar,
for
because
the blood sugar,
yeah. So it really helps with digestion, you know, in general, because your body is active when it's moving and it's not digesting as you're sitting. So it really helps the digestion go through, and then you know you do get thirsty after a walk, so the hydration back in there. And we've talked about this, you know, at length. But whenever someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm severely overweight. I want to do this. I want to do that. I need a crash diet. I need this workout plan."
Right.
No, you don't. You need a $40 gallon jug for water and aminos, and you need to walk more.
100%.
I would not recommend anybody start with anything more. So 6'5", 370 pounds, you go out and start running 3 miles, you're going to get screwed up really fast and really bad, because your body is not built for that, because it hasn't done it for however long. You know, it does take time to lose the weight, because it took a lot of time to gain all the weight. That reversing the bad habits is a process, and it's not something that I recommend trying to do all at once. That is the gateway to failure almost every time. The compound effect, which we also talk about it at length, just do one thing, one change, drink your water. You know, that's one simple thing that will have the biggest impact. The next is the movement, mobility. Then let's go into the diet, and not even go into what the foods are, but packing your lunch, right? If you can develop a habit of packing your lunch and not having fast food, we'll get to the good food eventually, but let's just get a habit established and then go from there. So you start moving, and how long did you do that? What's the weight loss look like in that?
So I saw it was pretty immediate, right? So didn't really change. I changed a little bit with the diet. It was more or less just being conscious of the processed foods, right? Still drinking beer more than what I should, but started moving, right? Started drinking more water, the hydration piece of it. Saw some immediate weight loss. I mean, it was immediate. Within 4 months, just to get in retrospect, I went from, you need to be on metformin, you know, you're type 2 diabetic. Within 4 months going in, just from making just those couple minor changes, right? I started walking, I started moving, I started just being conscious of what I wasn't on a diet. I was just being conscious of what I ate.
Just adjusting your lifestyle a little bit.
Just a little bit. And went back in, had another blood work test done. A1C had dropped down to where I was 0.2 away from being where I needed to be. Just in 4 months, right?
How inspiring was that for you to see, holy shit, I made this tiny little change. I'm walking a little bit and drinking water. You know, it's a recognition of two things. First, how bad your habits were before, right? It's probably embarrassing looking back. But now it's something that you're going to inspire a lot of people, because you can recognize the embarrassment and what you did with it. Back to the adversity part, you know, you were faced with this, you know, very difficult time as a father of 4 kids, as a leader of an organization, and as someone, a man of faith too. You're tested in every arena of your life. And you could have been, you know, a victim, or, you know, dwelled on life, or, you know, my genetics are the reason I'm this way, or you could have had every excuse in the world, right? Because we've all heard them, and they're like assholes. Everybody has one, right? But you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You went to the dark side, you processed it, you ate it, and it fueled you. And now, a couple of years later, you're a different person than you've ever been before.
Oh, yeah,
and it's completely inspiring.
Yeah.
So weight loss in total, your goal was?
So when I said my goal originally was just to not have these health issues, right? So it was more or less, I've always made the excuse, right? Well, I'm big boned. You know,
Right.
I'm 6'5", and I'm just a big bone guy. I'm never going to be, you know, I'm always going to be a 300-pound guy.
Right.
That's the cards I was dealt, right?
Right.
But, you know, the goal was just to get to the point where I could go into the doctor and she's going to tell me, oh, you'll be all right now. You're still a little high, but you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically the news that I got, right? So the unfortunate part was everything was there that I needed for that part of it, but the discipline wasn't there. I kept noticing the weight loss, and I think I was close to within the first year, I had dropped right around 60 pounds. And that was just literally from making small changes with what I was eating and walking. I lost 60 pounds. But the problem was I felt terrible. Mentally, I felt terrible. I still had all the anxiety, all the panic. I just didn't feel good. And as a result of that, not feeling well, and again, I told you I never really gave up the beer, never really gave up the bourbon, because I had managed to lose weight still doing that.
Right.
So instead of, again, I talked to my doctor about my anxiety. Here's some Zoloft. Here's whatever, just for anxiety, right? But again, I get more anxiety about thinking about taking medication.
Yes.
So it makes it worse.
Right.
So I used alcohol instead, right? So if I'm having a rough night, just mentally, I just don't feel well, glass of bourbon, small glass of bourbon, whatever. Bled into bigger glass of bourbon. 4 beers, went to 6 beers, whatever.
Right. And it's not that you get drunk; it's a decompression.
It was.
I understand.
It was just to the point where mentally I could feel better.
Right. And
Right.
it's a bad habit, but it's something that takes the edge off right away.
Instantly.
And you probably didn't notice it a lot, like the next day. Like if you have a small glass of bourbon, it's going to take the edge off, and you're not going to be dehydrated or whatnot, because it's not much volume.
Right.
But it does have an effect, like everything else does over time. If you consistently do it, it will have an effect. Right.
Right. But yeah, so I'd got the good news that it was down, but it still wasn't where it needed to be. My A1C was 6.7. Industry standard, they want you under 6.5. So, like I said, I'd done what I kind of needed to do to feel a little bit better about where I was health-wise, but I still just didn't feel that good. So again, like I said, with the anxiety, with just normal anxiety and trying to kind of wind down at the end of the day, get some sleep, got a busy day, kids have got games, everything is going on. Smaller glass led to a bigger glass before I know it, I'm walking, but I'm not walking like I was, right? I'm eating decent, but I'm doing more of the, Raising Cane's and the processed foods. Because I feel like I'm rewarding myself for all the hard work that I'm doing, which was just the worst train of thought you could possibly have. So I get to a point where I'm actually down 70 pounds now, but I actually feel worse than I did when I was at 371 mentally. Can't figure it out. Sitting around one night, my face is just blood red. And I'll never forget this night, because it was even more impactful than the first visit to the doctor. But I'm sitting there, I feel like my face is on fire, but my body is not. I'm not that hot.
Right.
Go back, check my blood pressure. My blood pressure's through the roof, So I start panicking. What's going on? Why am I feeling like this? So I immediately go grab me a glass of bourbon, whiskey, drink that, calms me down. You're good. Wake up next morning. I said, there's something going on. I know there's something going on. So when I went in the first time to the doctor at 371, my A1C was right around 7.2, which is high. Went back in 60-ish, 70 pounds lighter. My A1C had shot up to 11. For anybody that doesn't know about A1C, if you know about glucose, your glucose level should be somewhere between 100, 200 normal. I'm walking around at an A1C at 11. I'm walking around with an average glucose level of 300. That's my average baseline during the day. That's horrible. I mean, it's just, it's detrimental to your heart, right? So I get that call. The second call that I'll never forget from my doctor. Hey, your blood work come back. Blood pressure had gone up again. Same thing. She never knew that I never took, she thought that I was actually taking the metformin. She said, we need to up your dose of metformin. Well, about that. I never started taking it.
Right.
Immediately, same thing. We need to start you on metformin, and we're going to put you on something else. Because now it's at 11. It's super high. Same thing. Really don't want to. I've done it once. What have I done in the last 4 or 5 months that's made that go up that high? And I went straight. I actually went out to my barn. All the whiskey bottles that I'd drank and bought, I like collecting stuff like that. And I guess I'm a hillbilly, but I like saving them. I like the way they look. So I put them out in my barn. I knew when it started. So I start counting, and I realize that I didn't even know that I was doing it, and it had gotten to this extreme that I had actually in 4 months went through 26 bottles of whiskey. And it wasn't just regular whiskey, it was flavored whiskey. So flavored whiskey's got tons of sugar. It's the watermelon Old Smoky.
Yep.
It's the salted caramel, whatever. And it just, and the light bulb went off.
Well, alcohol spikes your blood sugar anyways without flavoring, right?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of, and that was literally, Jake, that's been right around probably about 1.5 years ago, I would say.
Wow.
So that's what really kicked it into, I'm killing myself.
Right.
Is really essentially what I'm doing.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So then you talk about what you did after that, because you lose all this weight, you have this great success, and then, you probably had a poor relationship to food, would be fair to say, at 370, right?
Oh.
There's a reason why you weigh that much and your shape was that bad. So you took away that relationship to food forcefully with willpower, so you didn't have to take the medication. But then you picked up on the alcohol to fulfill that void, right?
Evidently.
Assumingly. So then what did you do?
So yeah, it was sort of the same scenario, right? I do not want to take medication. I do not want to die at 50 years old because I'm destroying my heart with this high blood sugar, right? So that's when, and I was trying to figure it out, and I can't remember who or where I even came about it, but I knew I needed to start not just walking, because I knew walking hadn't done it. Walking, I lost weight, but not realizing until later, I lost a ton of muscle along with that, and I still didn't feel good.
Right. And your health results were not good, right?
No,
you lost 70 pounds, but you're still,
Yeah,
abnormal blood
I'm
work.
60 to 70 pounds lighter, and my A1C is now 11 and not 7.
Right.
How in the heck did I do that? So yeah, just kind of doing my own research, I guess, a little bit. So I started lifting a little bit, and I lifted back in high school. When I got out of high school, my early 20s, lifted a lot, lifted a ton. Really enjoyed it. Had no clue what I was doing. I was an early 20-year-old, and I just go in and see how much I could bench and max out every day. And, not
I understand.
not for a purpose, right?
Yeah, I understand.
So yeah, actually got a bench and a set of weights from my brother who had moved out of the state. He had a set up at my dad's loft. I went over and picked them up, threw them out in the barn, and just said, I'm going to start. I go all in, right? I'm going to work out 6 days a week. That works for about the first couple weeks, right?
About 6 days for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, 6 days for about 2 weeks. I go out in the morning. Sometimes I do it in the evening. There's no routine. It's just, I'll get out there when I get out there. I'll do it when it's convenient for me.
Yep.
And I'm going to lift weights. Did it for a few weeks, felt pretty good, and went back to the old habits thinking that I'm still in my early 20s, and now I'm mid 40s. And I'm exercising one day, doing some workout. I keep adding weight. Doing a particular exercise, finish as soon as I get to my last rep, I just feel a shooting, burning pain in my neck, and it felt awful. I actually at the time thought, man, I did good. That was a good workout because I'm sore, right? I get up next morning and my shoulder and my neck and my arm are all just killing. I mean, they're just throbbing.
Right.
So
being sore is not a sign of a good workout.
not
just
at
for
all.
everyone's information.
not,
you know,
yeah.
it's okay
Learn
to
that
be
the hard
sore
way.
after a grueling
Yep.
workout. That is expected on occasion. Now I don't know how you are now, but I'm not sore after every workout. There are times where, yeah, I'm really feeling it. I'm fatigued. My recovery isn't where it needs to be, whatever the situation is. But every workout, I'm not sore. I'm not barely walking out.
Yep.
If you're going that hard every time where you can't raise your arms or, you can't hardly sit down on the pot without falling over, you might have went a little bit too hard.
Yeah.
And we work out, the 4 a.m. crew works out with extreme volume, and we all will feel it over a certain time frame. And normally it's pretty funny how we normally feel it at the same times and the same days. We all kind of walk in, and everyone just looks like they feel like horrible, right? Fatigued, different volume on test weeks. Corey, might have drank too many cocktails when he programmed, the last round, and then we're doing, instead of the normal 30 sets, we're doing 55 sets, and we all don't realize it till we're done. There are times, but in general, being sore is not a good sign of a good workout.
No.
And I understand the
Again,
mindset because you feel it. So you're like, oh man, that must have been really good for me because I'm feeling it, right?
I literally, when I finished up, I was proud of myself because I said I'm pushing myself harder and harder and harder every day, and that was a good one because I can feel the burn in my neck. That wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't a burn that did you any well.
No. So yeah, actually, so after 100, I couldn't tell you how many trips to a chiropractor. Finally went in, got an MRI done because I had actually, at the time, I don't think that I realized it. I injured it so bad, I was actually painting a wall. Just by the time I got done, just went to bed with a ton of pain, and then 4 days of the worst pain I've ever experienced, with starting in my neck, a constant 24-hour a day Charlie horse in my shoulder, and then shooting pain down my arm that I just had never experienced in my life. And that lasted 4 or 5 days. But I ended up going in, chiropractor, he said, I'm not going to adjust you anymore until you go in and get an MRI.
Right. Which was, you're fortunate that he quit.
Yeah. Oh,
because he could have made it way worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I went and get an MRI. It's a severe herniated disc in my neck.
Yeah.
More than likely, the day that I was painting, I ruptured it. Just the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. So, again, here I am. I have a little bit of momentum going, and then something knocks me down. So, again, how do you deal with that?
How do you react to it?
Cope with that?
Right.
So it was tough. Just a tough time. But yeah, just got back to walking, I guess. That was about all I could do, right? That was the only thing that actually helped my neck and made it feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then the doctor had told me how important hydration was when it comes to trying to recover.
Everything, yeah.
Recover from
Eliminating inflammation is such a huge thing. And if you're dehydrated, you're not going to eliminate it. I mean, and that's why, like we said earlier, just always starting with the water and the movement.
Water, 100%.
Blood flow, and, getting blood flowing through your body, just moving a little bit. But making sure that you're properly hydrated is such a crucial thing. And so I have seen it because I've done it myself where, I wasn't properly hydrated in the middle of summer, going out, I'm in the ditch working, lower back starts cramping up. All these things start happening, you get injured, but all of it stems a lot of time from hydration. Lower back's cramping up because all the muscles around your lower back, your glutes, your hamstrings are contracting because they're dehydrated, right? So they're tightening up, and one thing leads to another, and then you got a back injury or, a knee injury or whatever it may be. And it's so simple. Hydration, a $40 jug, the jug right there on the floor. I've had that thing for 5-6 years. It's been ran over by a dozer. I talk about it ad nausea, but a couple scoops of aminos in there every day, and I drink it every day. It's a non-negotiable. It's such a habit for me now, like it is you. You feel lost if you didn't have it. It'd be like not having your phone or your wallet in your pocket, right?
My wife calls it my kettle. She calls it the kettlebell. I don't carry one quite as big as yours, but yeah, it's everywhere I go. I mean, I go to my kids' sporting events. We go to basketball games. We go to church. We go anywhere we go. I carry that. It goes everywhere I go.
It's just it's a discipline. It's a daily discipline. You're going to drink that if you have it with you. If you don't have that with you, you don't know what you're going to drink or when you're going to be able to drink something. So just have it with you, be prepared, and then you don't have to worry about it, right?
Well, and the other side of that too, with the hydration piece of it, was something I didn't realize. Again, trying to figure out how am I drinking a gallon and a half of water every day and still getting cramps in my calf. Can't figure it out. I'm in my mid 40s. I'm drinking water like crazy. I'm also hitting the bathroom every 15 minutes when I am, right? And the other piece of that, the hydration piece of it, right, is couldn't figure it out. How am I drinking all this water? I'm still getting all these muscle cramps. Was adding in, like you said, the aminos,
Yep.
some salt.
Salt. Yep. A lot of time just getting salt in your water, and it'll, pink Himalayan salt, half a tablespoon, whatever, in a gallon jug will be
Yep.
plenty. But salt pushes it into the places it needs to go.
Yep.
I remember I was actually cutting for a show, and I got injured before the show, so I wasn't able to do it. But I was probably 19, drinking 3 gallons of water a day, and I had the worst cramps in my entire life, to the point I thought I was having like convulsions in my lower body. Like my toes were cramping, my hamstrings, my quads. Everything was cramping up so bad I could not figure it out. All I was doing was flushing out the little bit of minerals I had left in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I was basically just drying myself out and didn't even realize it. I thought I was
Same.
hydrating myself.
Yep.
And that's painful in itself, to realize I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but it's making it worse. So what's going on?
Yep.
But like anything else in life, adversity, a problem or a setback, what do you do after it happens? You learn from it. You educate yourself. You don't lose the battle. You learn from it, and then you continue forward.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has their own journey, right? Everyone has a journey in their life that they're on. Identifying the destination and then the steps to get to that destination are huge. And you kind of said earlier, I'm maxing out on bench every day. You were on this journey because you had a goal in mind, but you didn't know what the destination looked like, because you were not prepared for it.
Right.
Just because of the lack of awareness or experience in that realm. So all this injury happens because you push too hard in the wrong ways. And then the neck injury happens. And then what?
So yeah, I stuck with the walking again. With just walking, it kept the weight where it needed to be, but I just didn't feel I didn't feel like I wanted to feel. I knew just mentally, the mental side of it. Again, I'm hovering right around probably still right around 60, 70 pounds. I'm down. So yeah, I had to go through some intense. My chiropractor calls it, I can't even remember what he called it, but found a chiropractor again that could help me with the injury, instead of, because the first chiropractor that I was seeing immediately went to, once he looked at my MRI, pain management, see if that'll help. If not, surgery. Well, I look at pain management and I look at surgery the same way I looked at the medication.
Yeah.
Is there an alternate
bunch of shit?
route? Is there, right.
It's a bunch
is there
of
an
shit.
alternate route? So just through some references, found another chiropractor, something completely non-conventional from what I was used to.
Yeah.
Told him I'd really, once I started seeing him, he finally got the pain to go away. But I asked him, I said, I really want to get back to lifting weights.
Yep.
I want to get back to lifting weights. Can I? He said, you can. I don't want you lifting anything over your head, and everything that you do, I want you to do lightweight. Well, again, I'm 6'5". I'm hovering right around 300 at that time, 308-ish. I can't go into the gym and lift light weights.
Right.
I'm going to feel like an idiot,
Right.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
So I bought 2 20-pound dumbbells, and I pulled my bench out of the barn into the garage because it was wintertime and I have a heater in there. And I told myself, I want to do this with a purpose, right? Like you said, destination.
Mm.
I know that if I tell myself I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. 6 days a week, it's not going to happen.
Right.
I've already been through it.
It's not
gonna
realistic.
last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Every night the kids have got softball, they got soccer, they have this, they have that. I can't. A sleep pattern is non-existent when you have 3 kids in sports and rushing home from work, whatever the case may be. So I just set out a goal. I said, you know what? I'm going to get up at whatever time, 5:30. I set a time, and I said, I'm going to do 3 days a week, and I'm going to start off with 15 minutes. That's it. I wanted to set myself a goal, and I wanted to set myself a timeline, as long as it didn't hurt to do it. I was still worried about my injury, but I'm going to go super light. I don't have to go into a gym, worry about the stereotyping of, oh, look at the big guy over there that can't lift anything, whatever. Right. Plus I don't feel real secure about just how I'm built anyway.
Right.
So yeah, set a goal, with the weights, set a goal with the food of, I'm going to be very, very conscious of what I eat Monday through Friday. Saturday comes, I'm going to eat pizza if I want to eat pizza. I'm just not going to eat a whole large pizza.
Right.
I just set some small measurables for myself to where I could build that momentum and also start building the discipline. Right?
Did you understand how important that was, or is it something that you just wanted to do from a natural standpoint? Was there something that triggered it?
At the time, I didn't understand what it was going. I didn't understand the compound effect of it, right?
Yeah.
The compound effect is real. Like you've talked about it. We've both talked about it, right?
Yeah. One of the best books and best life lesson you can ever pick up at the start.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So it was more or less finally just setting a goal for myself. I had told myself I was going to lose weight. I told myself I was going to get healthy, but I never really set any goals. Like you asked before, what was the goal when I started? I didn't really have, the goal was I don't want to take metformin.
Right.
Okay. Well, I actually achieved that, but I went back and anybody that's ever been on this journey, if they tell you that I started it, and it just went perfect the whole time, I'm going to call them a liar.
Complete bullshit. I'm calling it out. I ain't buying it for a second.
100% bullshit.
Yeah.
This has been a nonstop roller. It's been a 4-year roller coaster. Actually, it's been a 40-year roller coaster because I've been overweight my whole life. I've never been a skinny. I've never been a small guy, right? I never realized actually how overweight and out of shape I was until now. When I look at pictures of myself now, compared to my oldest daughter's 24 years old, and I have a picture at home that when she was a baby, she'll be 24. It's been 24 years ago where I used to look at that picture and go, man, I wish I could get back to that. Cause I was in pretty good shape then. I look at that picture now and I was out of shape.
Yeah.
My face is round and I just could not believe it. So I wanted to set myself like a goal to say 15 minutes a day, movement, number one, 3 days a week, not any 3 days. It's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Right.
It's going to be in the morning, and that's what I'm going to do.
So much power in this. This is probably the biggest turning point lesson for anyone in any facet of life trying to overcome adversity. Mm-hmm. You had a problem, right? You recognize the problem, and you had to make a decision. I'm either going to take this pill that's going to kill me more than it's going to save me, more than likely, because it's cases. Not the weight and all that is the pill's not going to take care of the weight loss. It's not going to take care of the health. It's just putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg until you can't survive with it anymore. Mm-hmm. So the pill would just have more side effects on your health. But then you lose all this weight, and then you continue to have health issues. Mm-hmm. But you recognize why, you overcome it. You recognize why, and you overcome it. But you still didn't have the discipline in place.
Right.
And instead of having this hairy, audacious goal, 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, I'm going to kill it. That's motivation speaking out of the side of its mouth. It's not sustainable discipline that is your mindset. It's raw motivation, and motivation is very temporary. Because I can tell you, 2 or 3 days a week, I really sure as hell don't feel like getting up and going to the gym. It's the last damn thing I want to do.
Right.
But it's just not something I'm cognitive of. I just go do what I have to do. It takes a long time to get there, though.
It does. And anybody that's asked me now, so talking about again, I started with, I'm going to kind of watch what I eat I'm going to watch what I eat Monday through Friday, eat whatever on the weekends, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to walk this amount. But again, the discipline was never there. Once I set, and again, I'm talking 3 days a week, 15 minutes. So we're talking 45 minutes,
right.
And that's the way I looked at it. This is 45 minutes out of my entire week.
If you can't do that,
make myself do
right.
It.
If you can't do that, then you can't do anything in life, right? That's probably what you're thinking to yourself.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And then over time, as you commit to this one thing, and then you just kind of slowly gain some confidence, and then you're like, man, 15 minutes a day in bed, I can do a half hour 3 times a week.
Exactly how it goes.
And then it just kind of evolves. That is the compound effect.
That is 100%. And that's what I tell folks now, anyone that I run into, because now I'm, we've talked about it now, I am 6 days a week at the gym, mm-hmm. Sundays off. I'm actually, tracking food. Yeah. It wasn't just watching what I eat. It's actually tracking food because, again, just from starting with, like you've mentioned before, give up 1 pop a day and drink of water. Start moving 1 day a week.
Compound effect.
Start moving
right?
2
Same
days
thing,
a week. Yeah. Start lift some weight. Again, I'm talking 20-pound dumbbells. in my garage with a bench is where that started for me. And where it is now is what it's kind of grown into.
Right.
But again, that's all come from just, you have to start. Like,
Commitment.
I've seen so much of the side effects of what the journey that I'm on and how it's affected people around me.
Mm-hmm.
My family, you know, my wife's always been very, very healthy, you know, yoga and exercise every day. I never was.
Right.
But again, don't go into it thinking that you're going to go into it like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 days a week. For me, it's 5 a.m. It's 5 days a week strength training, 1 day a week just cardio. Sundays are just like a recovery day.
And now when we have conversations, you know, you come in the office on a Monday morning, we sit down, we talk about life, training, whatever it may be casually. Yeah. It's, oh man, I pushed too hard last week. You know, I probably need an extra little bit of time off. But you developed all these habits, established your baseline, established the non-negotiables, and now you understand what it feels like not to do these things. So you don't want to feel that way again.
No.
So let's bring it to more in the last 6 months. So you go through this journey, you start lifting weights. Last 6 months, talk about life in general and what all has transpired for you and what your current state is mentally and physically.
So as a result of just feeling better, right? Just, again, the compound effect of starting with 3 days a week, 15 minutes a day, and it evolving into what it is now. I guess I didn't know, or I didn't have anybody in my life at the time that explained to me or even told me what the mental benefits were going to be of this journey, right? The journey started as, I just want to be healthier. I want to be less heavy. I didn't even look at it from a muscle side. I just said, I just don't want to weigh I want to weigh 270 pounds. That was the goal set out. 270 pounds is what I want to weigh. Why? I have no idea. I guess that's because I was 100 pounds.
Right.
But I never heard of or knew the effects it was going to have on me and my mental state. Right.
Yep.
So I'd worked a career with a company for the last, let's call it 17 years. Great job. No complaints at all about the job. That job changed my life from a personal level with my wife, stay-at-home mom, having a job that I could provide for my entire family.
And that's where me at R&R Pipeline, you at your former employers, where we met 10 plus years ago, right?
10.
And,
it has been.
And I remember a few years ago when I don't know the exact time frame, but you had lost that 60 or 70 pounds initially, and I seen you. Yeah. I came down, and I think you actually called me and said, hey, I heard you're going to be in town. Why don't you stop in and see me?
We did.
And I walked in, and I had to look at you 2 or 3 times to know who it was for sure. And my mind instantly went to, he's either kicking ass or he has cancer or some type of sickness, because he has lost so much weight. I don't recognize this person. And then that was right when you're going through the injury and you had lost all this weight.
Yep.
I walked out of there with a smile on my face, and I was inspired.
Yeah.
Because
appreciate it.
What you had accomplished, I would have not pictured you accomplishing that. I didn't know why at the time, you know, but from what I had known from before, I seen it and I was like, wow, I would have lost money on that bet if I would have had to.
Yeah.
Because of tendencies, habits, and stuff we talked about before. And it wasn't that you were lazy, you just had really bad habits, right? And then they just compounded over time.
I had all the same habits that everybody that we've ever worked with had. I stopped every morning at the gas station.
Yes.
I picked up a Mountain Dew, fudge rounds, and that was my breakfast.
And when I talk about this, you know, to anyone in nutrition space, or anyone that understands nutrition and wellness and weight training, strength training, any type of wellness, you know, application, think about how the hell can you even do that? Like, but you don't know. You're not aware of what you're doing to yourself. You're not aware of how it feels, how bad it feels. And the compound effect of the good decisions is the same with the bad ones. You know, you didn't become 370 pounds overnight, but you became 370 pounds because of a compound effect of bad choices. But then you get the second lease on life.
Well, when you're in that state of mind, and I can guarantee that anyone that's been through that is, well, you only live once. I don't, you know, I would look at guys that are built like you, right? I'd be like, well, he's not enjoying life. I'm going to go out and eat some pizza. The dude's not enjoying any pizza.
Yeah.
He's not drinking any beer. He's super disciplined. He's got to eat this. I don't want to live like that. I deserve to go out and eat some pizza on the weekend or B-dubs or whatever the case may be. I didn't realize at that time that I can still do that. Right. And in moderation, obviously. Well, I've already seen where the other side of that goes, but yeah, I mean, people will make the excuse. I don't want to live I only live once. I'm going to live happy. But you don't realize what happiness is until you get away from all that.
You do not understand until you come to the other side that you may be living, but it doesn't mean you're alive.
Right.
So many people, especially in our industry, die at 25. They just don't get buried till they're 75.
That's right. 100.
And it is absolutely mind-blowing to me. Whenever I was younger, I would get criticized for not going to happy hour, going to walk on the treadmill, listen to a book.
Yep.
I just felt better. I had no real reason why outside of happy hour, shit. Treadmill, good. I sleep better. I look better. I feel better. I'm not real sure why yet, but I'm going to keep doing the thing that feels a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I drink my fair share of beer and have my fair share of pizza, but I just felt better when I wasn't doing it that often.
Right.
And it's just these little things that you realize, like, I wake up, my skin doesn't feel disgusting, or I'm not, covered in acne, or, I don't have real bad BO, or my gut health feels all right. My system's working the way it should. Like, just little things like that you don't even think about. And then you do, because you understand what it's like to feel good. So when you feel good and then you go to the bad, you're like, oh shit, I don't want to do that again. Mm-hmm. That's not fun. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Let's take a quick commercial break, and I want to touch back on this point. This commercial break is brought to you by the Pipeline to Prosperity newsletter. What are you putting in your pipeline to be successful? In Iron and Infrastructure LLC production. All right, so we're back from commercial break. We have inspirational man Josh Akers here today, and Josh, want to go back to a turning point after all adversity, overcoming it, and then really what happened in your personal life. So 6 months ago, you started figuring out life a little bit more of who you wanted to be, why you wanted to be a different person. But then what happened? You're, working, and then you're just, something's missing, right? We talked about this ad nausea, but you really couldn't pinpoint it. You're looking in different areas, and then sometimes everything happens for a reason. You can't explain it.
Right.
Whether it's a faith-based thing that you think it is, or destiny, manifestation, whatever it is, something happens and it's like the turning point. What was that for you?
Well, when I was younger, and I'll just kind of go back just a little bit, I was super driven. I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to be my own boss, right? I didn't want to work for a company, but I wasn't brought up that way. I was brought up, blue collar, right? Get a great paying job, which I did. Dad, super proud, man, son, you hit the jackpot with that one, right? And I did. I mean, honestly, financially, for what it did for my family, I did. Yeah. It was great. And I'd gotten away from that early 20s side of that and just settled into, the 9 to 5.
Safety, security,
9 to 5, which was good, again. But and again, I'm going to keep saying it, as a result of the compound effect of everything that I've done up until this point, I started feeling like, well, now that I'm on this journey, I feel like there's something else for me on the financial side of it, the business side of it, right? Had no clue why. I'm struggling with it in my own head. I'm talking to my wife a little bit about it. Like, I'm getting to the point where I got a great job, but I'm dreading getting up in the mornings going to. I can't figure out why. She can't figure out why. She's like, what'd you do today? I tell her what I did. She's like, well, how could you not be excited about that? Right. I'm just not excited about it anymore. I used to be. Yeah.
At this point, personal development was it something that was
it was. Yeah. I'd started and again, I kind of led just from trying to figure out how to just live a better life. It led into the personal development side of it. Right. And it led into I've listened to a lot of podcasts, right? And I just kept listening to more and more and more of them that said, if you're not happy with where you are, for whatever reason, Doesn't matter what reason that is. If you're not 100% happy, you're not where you should be. But again, you go back to the security.
Much easier said than done, too, by the way.
Oh my, yeah. Yeah. But, and I got to this, and again, mentally, I feel amazing, but I feel like something's missing. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'd listened to enough podcasts and been on the personal development side of where it was basically, you're here for a reason. You're put on this earth for a reason. We woke up this morning for a reason and for a purpose.
Every day is a blessing.
God's
what do you
not
do with
done
it?
with you. You woke up again this morning. So what are you going to do with today?
Yep.
And, my kids are a little bit older now, and I started feeling like, the security side of it. But anyway, long story short, just didn't feel like I was where I should be. And we ran into each other again. We had some mutual business there, and ran into each other on a job. It was great to see you. My first, you said your first thought was when you see me, you're like, man, I hope he's not sick.
Yeah.
I see Jake, and I'm like, that's like something to strive for me. You inspire me just with your build and everything that you've done with your life. From, I worked with you when you were still a foreman.
Yep.
I was a coordinator.
You knew me at a very young age.
I remember I just drove through town the other day. This is no joke. Drove through town the other day and drove up Ohio Street. I don't know if you'll remember it or not.
In Athens, Ohio?
Nope. Circleville.
Okay.
Drove up Ohio Street, and there's a little market on the corner. The day that I met you, and I don't know why this flashed into my head, you were putting the service into the trailer across the street.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Right down from the yard, the city building. Yeah.
So we had run into each other, and we start talking. You had mentioned, man, you're looking good. Look a lot better. That's always encouraging to hear for me, for anybody on this journey, right? We just got to talking a little bit, I guess.
Well, we had a friendship of some, we were
Absolutely,
business professionals in our, had a partnership on a business side, but, we had friendships within our own individual organizations at that time. But then the organizations combined, we had a lot of mutual friends because we had worked together for 10 plus years. So we knew each other really well, and then I had been either a foreman or, some on a crew or an operations manager on jobs that you had ran for years. So we had a lot of run-ins with each other, and we always kind of clicked and talked, and, it wasn't like we didn't appreciate each other or, didn't know each other. We knew each other fairly well.
We knew each other, yeah.
But I didn't know the person that you had became until that day I started to see it. Because I distinctly remember a few things that caught me off guard, dramatically caught me off guard because you were different. And I knew it.
Well, and we've talked about that day a few times. And same thing, when I saw you in the office, probably 6-8 months before that, again, going through this journey and just feeling like, there's just something else. I can't put my finger on it. There's something else. Knowing what I dream of, I have visions and I have dreams of a lot of things that I'd love to do with my life, and always looked at those as fantasies, never as dreams and visions. Yeah. But I remember seeing you down on that job that day, and you were with a group of people, and we've talked about this. I know you've told me your side of it. I don't know if I've ever told you my side of it, but there was literally something that day, and I'm not going to call it something. I knew before you left that job that day that I wanted to talk to you. I didn't know about what. I knew I wanted to tell you, hey, I started lifting again, feeling better. I knew I wanted to talk to you about that side of it, but I knew that there was no way that I was letting, and you probably noticed that I was just kind of like walking around.
I did.
I was like walking around a truck, and like, I'm waiting on him to get done with the folks that he's with. Because I said, I don't know what. I said, I want to talk to him before he leaves. Because again, your story, your motivation, your inspiration to me, I gotta talk to Jake before he leaves.
Which at that point, I don't think you knew very much about what I had actually done or had been working on. Not until the end of it, right?
No, not at all. I mean, I knew that, obviously I knew that you had bought R&R pipeline, but no, not in depth. Not that I do now. Right. Yeah. So no, So that was an honestly, that was a big turning point for me.
So I felt it that day, like so, like vividly and strong. Because I remember we were talking, guys were doing work, we're standing there and we're catching up, and I just felt like something is different today. And I was there on complete separate business from what was actually physically going on at that time.
Yep.
You know, had met some other people in a different portion of that, you know, organization. And first time ever meeting them. It was a pretty big meeting. But I didn't take much away from that individual thing outside of establishing a good introduction in that. I remember Josh Akers, though, like, stalking me a little bit. And I'm like, what the hell is this dude doing? Like,
was stalking you.
is he going to knock me out? Does he want to talk some shit? Is he trying to put the gloves on? Or something is different today.
Yeah.
And I knew something changed in you because the physical attributes, but I didn't see the mental side until we talked.
Yep.
And had I not felt that conviction that day, I wouldn't have told you all that I did about this.
Right.
The podcast wasn't released yet.
Oh, no.
And I don't even know if me and Treadway had actually collaborated enough to put an episode together.
Right.
I think it was in what was this, August maybe? Because I don't think we actually started recording until like September.
August,
yeah. And we
early
released in October. So it was just this fantasy per se idea at the time, but there wasn't much traction with it. There wasn't much direction. But I felt convinced, like I felt the need to tell you that day because I could see the burn in your eye. And then after that, holy shit, it was over after that. I mean, the fire that you had in you after that. I mean, we talked, I think, every day after that,
We did.
up until, you know, you came and sat down with us.
Yep.
And let's talk about the next couple of weeks after that. So I leave the job site, you leave the job site. What's going through your mind?
What's going through my mind is there's a reason that this meeting happened today, right? And again, we've talked about it. There was a reason. I had no reason to be in that town that day.
Right.
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
It was a random day.
Yep.
Said, where do I want to land today? What's going on out in the field? Where have I not been in a while? I don't know. Whatever the case may be, but how long had it been? I mean, we'd only seen each other maybe twice.
So the time before that I had seen you wasn't even in the field, it was in Chillicothe.
It was in the office.
It was in the office.
Yeah, because I heard you were in town.
Yeah,
I think
and you
texted
said I was
said,
having
you better
lunch.
not leave without stopping
Yeah,
and saying.
and there was
hey,
a group of you guys there, and
Yeah.
I hadn't seen most of you for a while. So like, hey, come hang out with us, old boys.
Yeah.
And I walk in, I'm like, man, he's either telling me he's got cancer or he wanted me to come here so I can see he's kicking ass, you know. And it probably wasn't either one of them, but like when I first walked in, I'm like, you know, who is this guy? But it was a year after that we met on site, and we probably didn't talk outside of that one visit where you were at our office. That one time in between was probably the only time that we had talked.
You're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
And then we see each other on site, and then everything changes from that point forward.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
talk about it.
So yeah, we you know, after just talking, you know, and I couldn't even put. I think you felt it, right? Where I was just like, because you asked me how things were going. I said things are going on a personal level. My family couldn't be better. Health wise, you know, fitness. I mean, physically, I feel better. I mean, at the time, I'm 47 years old at the time. I feel better now than I did in my early 30s, like physically. Just talking about all that, but something's missing. Like, just something. I don't know. I just feel like I'm still meant for something more. I have all these big dreams I had when I was in my early 20s of owning a business and, you know, being a part of something, right? And I knew R&R Pipeline. I'd watched R&R Pipeline from previous ownership to current ownership. And after you and I talked about the future and what the future looks like for R&R and the direction that you were going, it was just like something clicked within me that it's not always about the end. Like, it's not always about, you know, going straight from leaving where I was and starting my own business. It's about building and surrounding yourself with like-minded people who have those goals, fitness, business, whatever the case may be. And I saw in you that something I'm super passionate about, that you care about people, right? And you invest in people. And that's what I took away from that. And I went home and I because we left that conversation with, I think you told me, whenever you want to sit down and talk, let's sit down and talk. And I left that as, okay, let's kind of see how this, first of all,
Right.
first thing in my mind is, let's see how this goes with my wife. Cause my wife is, she's the one I got to sell on it. Right. Because she loves the security.
Well, it was a conversation. There wasn't nothing on the table. Wasn't nothing off the table
at all.
Let's talk.
It was like, let's talk. And you had actually you had sent me a couple podcasts. You know what? I don't know that this was a concept yet, but you had done it with your grandpa.
I had the interview with Grandpa.
The interview with your grandpa, and then another podcast that you had been on.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I actually listened to those, and after listening to those, I said, this is a guy that I need to start building even more of a relationship with.
Right.
Even if I go in and talk, you know, so eventually I end up giving you a call or text you, say, hey, let's talk. We set up a time. I came into the office. Cody was there, your partner. And you hadn't come in yet. Cody and I were just kind of catching up a little bit. Hadn't seen him in a while. And you had finally come in. We talked a little bit. And then Cody started off with, so Jake said you wanted to talk. What'd you have on your mind? And I don't know if you remember it or not. I said, I've thought about this meeting for the last 3 or 4 days, however long it had been, about should I take in like a resume or like how should I start? How should I? And I think my literal words were, I have nothing, how did I word it?
Nothing on the agenda or something of that sort.
Yeah,
like there wasn't anything you wanted to talk about. You just wanted to talk. Almost.
I said, after seeing Jake out there, listening to the podcast, and I said, after listening to the podcast he had been on, the one he did with his grandpa, through this journey that I've been on, it truly inspired me. Like I told you that it inspired me to just really look into why I'm having these feelings of, I'm not sure that I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have to try. That's the thing I try to tell people now, and I'm horrible about it. I want to figure it all out right now. It's not about trying to figure it all out right now. It's about, just like with the water and just like with movement, it's just take one step at a time. That first step was talking to you. Second step, come into the office.
You know, a lot of time I tell people, don't try to get the whole plan laid out. Have a end goal in mind, or at least a direction, then the first couple steps, and don't worry about the rest of it.
Yeah.
Plan fast, act faster, because like the roller coaster of events that happens in every journey in life, the unforeseen is unforeseen for a reason. You can't predict it. You're not understanding what's going to happen, but you know what the next step looks like. So take that next step.
Yep.
Don't get pressure or anxiety put on yourself for steps that are 3 or 4 steps ahead that are completely out of control at that time. Take on the next step and go. Right.
Yep.
And there's a lot of power in that, as simple as it sounds.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here having this conversation. You don't know what the hell you're doing there. I don't know what the hell you're doing there, but we just start talking.
Well, I specifically remember telling you though, and I truly believe this, and I know that's how I felt was, I specifically told both of you, I said, if nothing else comes out of this meeting other than we strengthen or grow or start just a new friendship. I said, because I'm at a point in time in my life where I know that I want to make some changes in my life. And I know a lot of it has to do with career paths. Wasn't sure what yet at the time. I know one thing that I want to do is I want to connect myself with these two guys. Like these guys are inspirational to me. They, you know, if anything, I remember telling both of you, if I achieve anything from this meeting, I hope that we come out of this as better friends. Right. And that's honestly where.
Right. That's, yeah. I mean, that was, so I knew after you left that meeting, I didn't know a time frame or for sure but I knew exactly where I thought you fit within the organization. And I would be a liar if I said I didn't think you'd come over, because I was convinced without a shadow of a doubt. I just internally knew that you were meant to be there. And I really felt that. I honestly thought about it on the way back. I called Cody and I told him what had kind of happened. And I'm like, dude, Josh Akers is a different human. I don't know who this guy is, but he has changed everything in his life, and everything else has changed except for what he does every day. But who he is now is completely different, and he's not fulfilling his purpose in life, and he knows it.
Yep.
He has a bigger purpose now. He don't know what it is
That's
or why it's happening this way, but he's taking care of him as a person. He's prioritizing himself, and everything else around him is starting to look a lot smaller than it used to because he's much bigger from a visual standpoint. You can see the world different. And then when you said, hey, I want to come in, just have a conversation, I had to leave that day. I had another meeting. I was only there for an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
I had something very strict.
Yep.
I had to leave. I left. An hour or two later, I come back, and you were still there.
Still there.
And I was like, yeah, he's coming for sure. Just a matter of time.
I remember telling the wife, I said, well, Jake's got to leave at 1:30. I think we set up a 12 o'clock meeting. You said you had to leave by 1:45.
Yeah.
I said, so I'll be home 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And at 4:30.
I got back at 4:30, and you're still there. But
Yep,
what
still
that
on
told me
there with Cody.
was he's asking questions.
Yep.
He's engaged. There's something there. Something there.
I'm just in there, like I said, talking to Cody, man. And it's just, the more we talk, it's just, I feel like I'm literally just sitting there like I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Falling into place.
Just
right.
not trying to figure it all out. Just at that time, at that moment, I'm where I'm supposed to be today.
Right.
Today was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And again, coming from my upbringing, nothing wrong with it, not at all. But I'm literally sitting in this office thinking about leaving a 17 and a half year career where I'm 7 years away from retirement. I could literally work another 7 years, be 55 years old, and retire with full benefits.
But would you feel alive going through that same thing?
I knew.
Right? Back to that conversation.
Yeah. Yep.
Waking up with purpose every day is so powerful.
Yep.
I call it a bureaucratic hamster wheel. And why I reference that is because it's so common in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Guys are like the old Josh Akers, where health is not even, there's no awareness of health or what it should look like. So who you are as an individual with bad health habits creates a lack of desire, creates a lack of ability, which creates health problems, which creates adversity that's very, very hard to overcome. Most people don't. So what does that do? What bad health habits? What happens? Okay. Your mood sucks. Your energy sucks. You're grouchy. You're tired. We have an industry of a bunch of grumpy old bastards. I don't know how else to say it. It's just what it is. But it's because of the habits that never change and they evolve in the worst way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of that small one shot of bourbon, it's a whole glass of bourbon, right? So it's the compound effect in the negative light that leads to misery with people. And it's just these little habits that Josh Akers picks up that revolutionizes generations of people to come. Mm-hmm. Not just you. You personally have had a massive impact on yourself, and you are different now. But the side effect of that, everyone else around you watching. Mm-hmm. People will listen to someone that talks, but when they see it, they hear it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people want to talk about, I've done this in business, I've done that in business, but they haven't been able to showcase it because it's not all the way through yet. Mm-hmm. Like for me, I've been the opposite. I've done a lot of things without ever talking about them. Now they're all going to start coming out because I want to help other people just like you, right? Mm-hmm. We talked that day. I see something in you that I had not ever seen in you before, but there is an undeniable force whenever you have that internal feeling that you're not going to be stopped and no one's going to stop you. I remember after that day, Josh Akers is different. And a couple of weeks go back and forth. We had some conversations, working out some detail. Yep. And it got down to the point of decision making. I knew without a shadow of doubt what I thought the decision was going to be, but I wanted to make sure that you understood this was not just a professional thing. Right. And I think I remember the last thing I said to you before we got off the phone that night, Josh, no matter what happens, personally and professionally, I will respect your opinion. If that means that you know, I'll respect your decision. If you don't come to our pipeline, I have a ton of respect for that, and that's fine. I still want to continue a personal relationship, and I want to be here for you if I can help you in any way. Yep. Because so many people don't have that drive, and a lot of people have the drive, but never become aware of how to continue to evolve. Mm-hmm. That's where the sticking point can be, or where people give up, is they're on this highway, and then they find that first failure exit, and instead of figuring out how to get back on track, they just fail and let it be what it is, blame the world. Yep. And I was so proud and inspired by what you had done. I did not want that to happen to you. And if I thought there's any way I could help, I wanted to make sure you knew it. But then you call me back, and what happens?
Well, so after we, we had one conversation, then we had a second conversation. I think that one was 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
We come to some terms, and I think I remember specifically, I think I messed with you a little bit. I know the second time we met, I said, do you guys have anything else for me? And you said, no, I don't have anything else for you. Are you done asking questions?
Yeah.
Or something like that. It was all in good, whatever. So
Yeah.
I said, so anyway, I told my wife that I was going in to have a conversation with the first one. She said, oh, okay. Just a conversation. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're just going to talk, I'm not going to commit to anything today. I just want to see if there's anywhere for me within their organization where I can come and add value to their organization and
fulfill your purpose
and fulfill my purpose, right? Surround myself with, like-minded people and to help me along my journey, right? So yeah, once we worked out some details and I finally come back to her and I said, well, here's where we're at. And she's, and my wife, I love her to death. We've been together this year, it'll be 25 years this November, right? So I remember asking her, what do you think? Cause I've been married to this woman for a long, what do you think? And she looked at me and said, I know wherever you go, whatever you do, that you'll succeed at it. That's just the type of person you are. And if this is where you're being led to go, I support you 100% no matter what. And that was all I needed, right?
Yeah.
I knew I had already made the decision on my own.
Yeah,
I knew what I wanted to do, but I wanted to make sure that I had her support.
It's a group effort. It takes both of you to agree. Yeah.
And when she gave me that green light, she said, she said, whatever you decide, stay, go, whatever you decide, I support you 100% because I know that you'll succeed, at it, right? So I specifically remember calling you and you didn't answer. You called me back and I happened to be at lunch with one of the guys that, I supported. So I have to step out. So I don't want to miss this call because I was excited. I really was. And I remember saying, I got you on the phone and I said, well, hey, I just got one more question for you. And I knew, I pictured your face when I said that you're rolling your eyes and I can only think of the choice words.
I was probably scratching my forehead like, what the hell is it now?
Because we left that last meeting with, do you have any more? I said, the September 11th work for a start date.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was like, man, you got me there.
Yeah. Yep.
But
so, yeah,
it was such a, first of all, how you approached that call was awesome because it's like, I'm going to join forces with you, but I'm going to kick you in the back of the kneecap real quick as I come up to stand next to you, which I absolutely appreciate. I love shit like that. But the confidence that you have instilled in me, and this is something I don't know if we've ever talked about, the side effect of what you did is going to have a massive impact on it already has.
It already has.
And you haven't even fully been in your role yet and done what you originally came to do.
Right.
Right? You're in the development stage, you're getting the things put together, and then it'll get rolled out at the beginning of next year. You haven't even got to put your footprint within our organization to the point where you can make a massive impact. The groundwork has been done.
Yep.
But you're getting ready to change a lot for us in such a great positive light that I think I did tell you this. You joining our team is going to be a dramatic shift in our organization for years to come because of what the perception looks like and the confidence it's going to instill in everyone else around you and the amount of value that you bring for what that role is going to be. And then the potential in the future. Yep. Absolutely amazing what you have been able to accomplish. You think about this, Josh. In a year and a half or 2 years, you have lost 100 pounds. You've refound yourself. You became alive. You were walking around person with no passion, no purpose, felt like crap, looked like crap, didn't like his life. You lose 100 pounds. You have all these dramatic mental and physical changes. Find your purpose. You find something you're passionate about. But I think the biggest thing that is inspiring about it is the ripple effect of what it's had on your family. If I am proud about anything that you've accomplished, the 100-pound weight loss, great. Working out now, great. We're brothers in iron as well as teammates on our pipelines team. Awesome. What you have been able to do with others around you is something that gets me so excited. It's hard to even fathom the excitement because your daughter came to you. Let's talk about this. Your daughter comes to you with something she's passionate about. The old Josh Akers would have said, I don't know, that doesn't sound very safe and secure, because she had a good job too, right?
Yep.
And what did you tell her?
So this was right before I had decided to leave where I was and come to work with R&R. She started her own business, just a branding business, basically, social media, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And she comes to me and she's talking about how she doesn't have time to do this. You know, she doesn't have time to do this. And I look at her and I said, well, what do you mean you don't have time? Well, with, working full time and then trying to do this in the evenings. I said, well, why are you working full time? I was like, what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about accounts receivables and payables at the job that you're working at? Or are you passionate about
your brand,
her brand?
Yeah.
And I already knew what the answer was, but I wanted to ask her, what are you truly passionate about? And I knew what it was. And she told me, and we had a long discussion about her. I said, honestly, what do you have to lose? What do you
what's the floor? What's the ceiling, right?
What do you possibly have to lose by going all in on what your passion is? But at the same time, I'm telling her that, and I'm in the back of my mind, and this is right around the time that you and I are talking. Like, I'm giving this advice. Am I willing to do the same thing?
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking
it all happened within a few months, right?
It did literally happen within a couple months. And I'm like, it was powerful for me just to give her that advice, because she doesn't probably recognize how much it impacted my life by giving that advice. And at the same time going, well,
you got to practice what I just preached.
I got to practice it.
Yeah.
I already knew that I wanted to make some changes in my life with, when it come to my career or whatever. But no, so I honestly, she left the house, just super excited. She was really thinking about it. She calls me. She actually called me later on that day, said, hey, can I come back over and talk? Absolutely. Anytime, She comes back over. She's a ball of tears. She knows what she wants to do. She just, she's 19 years old. She wants to hear it from her support, me and her mom. Her mom was not so much on my side.
Right.
She's more the safe side. But again, like you said.
Well, it's great to have that balance.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
If I didn't have that, I'd probably be in prison right now. That's another conversation.
But no, just to be able to support her in that way and I'm so glad that I was where I was, because like you said, if this would have been 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I'd have probably told her, you got a pretty good job where you're at.
The old you would not have seen this as,
no.
Would you have even seen it as an option, or would it have been something where it's not safe, it's not secure? Yeah, you like doing it, but is it just putting a smiley face on a sweatshirt? Is that what you're really that passionate about? Like, would you have been able to understand what she was really passionate about?
I would have been the other way, where just work more hours in the evening, keep the safety, work more hours in the evening until you can get some more sales. And then, no, I was 100% all in for her, that if this is what you're passionate about, you need to put your 2 weeks notice in. I kept reminding her, what's the worst that's going to happen? Think about the worst case scenario. If you quit your job and go do this, and it's not making the money that you want it to make 6 months from now, what's that look like?
Right.
And when you really, if anybody sits down and looks at that and really thinks about that,
worst case scenario, what is it? Am I willing to live with this? Can I survive this if that happens?
Yep.
And I went through the same exact thing. R&R pipeline. I have no money. I have nothing. I'm pretty much leveraging my left toe and everything. My dog, my cat, my house, everything was on the table. There wasn't anything that had any value that I had owned or whatever that was not on the table. Everything was on the table. What is the worst thing that happens? I lose my house, I file bankruptcy, and I get fired from my job. I go get another job. Well, sign me up. I'll do that all day for what it could be on the upside, because I can get another house. I can get another job. I have a skill set. But if I don't push all the chips in, I might not never get the chance at this table again to go all in, right? And same with her, same with you.
Mm-hmm.
You made a decision based on not just an emotional state or a temporary time frame.
Mm-hmm.
The compound effect added up over time. So what you did a year and a half before that,
Yep.
and a year before that, and 6 months before that led to that day where you could make that decision with confidence. Because it took that much time to get you that confident to make that decision. And in the headspace that allowed you to know, I'm ready for something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm destined for something bigger.
Yep.
So you have changed not only your life, you're a perfect example of this industry and what the industry says you will become or should become,
Mm-hmm.
and how you blew that up, changed your life, went against the grain of anything logical because you believed in yourself because of confidence over time. Now your family sees it. Your daughter does the same thing.
Yep.
But she only did it because you instilled the confidence in her, more than likely. Had you said, no, it's not a good idea, you're the protector, you're the leader of your family.
Mm-hmm.
Had you not made all these changes, she probably wouldn't have seen it that way.
I think even if I wouldn't have talked to her about it with so much conviction,
Mm-hmm.
right? It wasn't just words. It was, and again, just being in that space where I am now.
Undeniable passion,
it's
right?
Undeniable conviction and passion of saying, I believe, I believe in you more than you believe in you. Like,
Right.
I know that you'll make I know that you'll make this
Yeah.
work. You just have to get past the fear,
Mm-hmm.
right? And make that change. And she did. You know, I think I texted you.
You did.
Said daughter came home. She texted me today. Said she put her 2 weeks notice
Yeah.
at work. She'd been there about a year and a half.
You text me that. I remember screaming. Like, I was out in my garage. I think I was out in the garage with my daughters, and I'm like screaming, and they turn around like, "What is wrong with him today?" You know,
Yep.
because it was such a life-defining moment for you. Like you're going to look back in a few years for the rest of your life, and you're going to look at these moments. This changed the landscape of not just me, not just her, your other 3 kids,
It's been
generations to come. Your grandkids one day are going to be like,
it's been all of them. I mean, I have, again, I've got 3 daughters. Both the other daughters, all 3 of them have come to me, not as much the oldest, but the middle that quit her job. Dad, I don't feel good. You know
so
what I mean?
working
Like,
out a little bit.
I don't feel good, and I, that's the part of this journey that I'm the most excited about is.
And you probably never imagined it would happen.
I did it for me.
Yeah.
I was doing it for me,
Right.
which I still do. I do it for myself to stay where I need to be. I do it for my family.
Right.
But now it's so much bigger than me and my family. It's getting that story out, having opportunities like this to get on. And we've talked about it before. If one person that is in that state of mind that I was in, right, they're debating whether or not they want to take medication. They're struggling with anxiety and struggling with weight and whatever the case may be. That's the part that through this journey that's got me the most excited about. It's not the 270. It's not benching this or anything else. It's continue doing what I'm doing, not only for myself, because I see the better quality of life. It's to hopefully get that story out and for someone to see it and go, well, if he can do it, I can do it, right?
But that's the power of it. If you can do it, Josh, anyone can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, think about 370 pounds going into diabetes, going into high blood pressure. You're going into the end of your life, and you had to make a conscious decision as you're standing over the edge at the end of your life at a very, very young age. It's either I pull myself up off this, fall to the bottom, or I go to the bottom, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you went against the grain and changed generations.
Yeah.
I know you're proud of it. I'm proud of you. I can't even put it into words how proud I am and how inspired I am by it, but it's life altering for so many people, and what you have done will continue to have a ripple effect for others. I didn't think that, I ever had much value in my story, but, talking to you that day and then getting your feedback and, probably 20 or 30 people over the last few years that have just reached out that I've been able to help very, very simply just by my habits being established and then what it was able to do. And now that's the whole reason for the show. I want to create awareness. I'm not trying to preach to anyone that you need to wake up at 3 a.m. and go do what I do, because I know that very few people are going to be able to do that.
Yep.
And it took me a long time to establish that. But if you can drink a gallon of water and walk a little bit and drop 70 pounds, holy shit, that's a different life, right?
Just
It's
start.
this isn't. We're not trying to build a rocket ship here, dude. We're talking pretty basic stuff, and it's not that complicated. It's not hard. It really is simple, and it really is easy.
If you
It
could
gets
just-
harder, but
Oh, yeah.
the beginning is very simple and very easy.
It's just trying to get through to folks to people that are in that space. Like, it's not just the weight side of it. It's the mental, physical. Like I said, I wish I'd have had someone that could have tried to explain that to me. And that's where I'm at now, is just trying to help people understand that just starting with, like you said, a gallon of water. Just start with replacing this pop or this Red Bull or Monster or whatever with this. You know, if you still don't feel good, do you like to walk? Do you like to jog? Do you like to, heck, I don't know. Do you like to push mow grass? I don't care what it is. Just start moving.
21 days, 1 gallon of water, non-negotiable, not take anything away from you.
Yep.
After 21 days, that alone will absolutely
Yep.
change you. And I want to revert back to something that you said earlier, because you mentioned like, oh, I can eat all this pizza. You know, he probably eats nothing but kale and like broccoli and
Yep.
like, I eat whatever I want to eat.
Yep.
But I want to feel good, so I eat what makes me feel good.
Yes.
Right? I am more alive today than I have ever been in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I changed my discipline a few months ago and completely changed everything for me. The person that's drastically overweight thinks that eating whatever they want is making them happy and doesn't realize that that is the gateway to hell.
Mm-hmm.
The depression a lot of times comes from poor stomach, you know, bad gut digestion. A lot of that will cause so many other things to go out of whack that eventually causes depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being overweight lowers your testosterone, higher cortisol, no energy, all the different things that you've already went through and seen. And then you turn around and it's not like, oh, I can't have this pizza or I can't have this pop. It's like, no, I don't want to, because it makes me feel like shit.
Yep.
And I'll stand up on top of Mount Everest with my gallon jug that's been ran over by a dozer 10 times, and I'll drink my aminos. And if anyone has a problem with it, that's fine. That's their problem, not mine, because I don't care, because I feel good.
Yep.
Once you start to feel good, it's something that you just don't ever turn back around.
Yep.
And the few people that do, you know, get to a point where they feel really, really good and then collapse back, man, it just makes me wonder, like, why couldn't you just sustain basic habits? But most people that fail because they go all in
They try
and
to
they
go too
don't
hard.
have that foundation.
Yep. They try to go too hard.
Yeah.
Anyone that's asked me now, that's the advice. You know, my daughter, like, again, she came to me and she said, you know, I have no energy during the day. I'm just having a hard time with energy during the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, mood, not so bad, but energy, more or less energy. And, you know, she came to me for advice, right? Which I can't, I mean, you know what that means, right? I said, if I tried to tell you to go to the gym 6 days a week, completely switch your diet, whatever, all you're going to do,
Fall flat on your
all I'm
face.
doing is just setting you up for failure.
Right.
I said, how much water do you drink? I don't drink very much water. Okay, start drinking 2 bottles of water a day. If you're only drinking 1 a day, drink 2.
Yep.
Try to drink 3.
It's almost laughable how easy that is, but
It's so simple.
making sure that you accomplish that too it's a laughable, oh, drink 2 bottles of water, that's your big secret? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Drink it and then tell me what happens. And it's just a little bit like, whoa, I actually do feel better.
Well, it's finding out too that, you know, just like in her case, she was starting off every morning with the ice
Oh, yeah.
coffees
Yeah.
with everything, all the sugar in
Yeah.
it, right? It's
Spike
okay
your
to have
insulin,
that. It's
yeah.
okay to have that. Have it later on in the day.
Yeah.
Here's what I want you to do. In the morning, drink a bottle of water.
Mm.
Instead of having that,
Yeah.
you
We'll
like-
get to that later.
You like
Yeah,
eggs,
yeah.
fry a couple eggs.
Right.
Have that later,
Yeah.
and then tell me how much better
Yeah.
you feel. She wanted to go a little bit further, so I said, you know, I use my example. 3 days a week. I don't care what days. You tell yourself what days are going to be. You know your schedule better than anybody. Pick 3 days a week, 15 minutes.
That's it.
I don't care if you do yoga. I don't care
Yep.
if you do stretching. She's a gymnast for years.
Mm.
I don't care what you do. Just set a time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the amount of what you're going to do at that point. It's about setting a goal for yourself and starting to establish the discipline side of what it takes to make this not something that you're going to try or see how it goes, to make it a lifestyle. Right?
Once you set out that, hey, this isn't a diet, this isn't a punishment. I'm not doing this because I hate who I am. I'm doing it because I want to be around longer.
Yep.
have more quality for others. And I'm doing this because I love myself.
Yep.
You probably started on the journey because you hated who you were or who you had became, right?
I started,
Overweight, unhealthy
started
now.
out of fear.
You hated,
a
yeah.
little bit.
I'm fearful of what could be, and I hate who I am now.
Yep.
But as you change that, now you don't do it because you hate yourself. Now you do it because you can impact other people's lives and because you love yourself. I don't do this for anybody else.
Right.
I do it for me.
Yep.
The side effect is it helps other people, right?
Yep.
That's a win-win. But I do this because I have to be the best version of myself for everyone else. If you're not the best version of you for your family, they get a diminished return on who you are, right? They don't get the value that they deserve. The other part about success is not the accolade. It's not the accomplishment to me. To me, success is not what you achieve, but who you become when you achieve that. I thought our pipeline was Mount Everest.
Mm-hmm.
And I got up 2 days after, felt empty as ever. 12 years, one goal. This achievement was supposed to be the reward.
Mm-hmm.
But who I had become to get there was the actual reward. And seeing that kind of turn for me made my purpose in life and my passion for what I do so much more. Because I need to accomplish this as an individual to accomplish this as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't accomplish this individually, the team probably won't accomplish this together. And there's a lot of power in that. The self-awareness, accountability, knowing that I need to become a person of this, quality, this determination, this leadership, whatever it may be, for this organization to go this far. My success is not what I accomplish. I look at success for me, honestly, is how can I help other people? What do other people around me accomplish? Mm-hmm. If other people around me are not getting better, then I have failed.
Yep.
And that's how I look at it, because I'm not going to scream and shout what I've done. I'm just going to continue to do what I do. But if I know that I help other people out, then that's success to me.
That's been the part of this journey again, to where it's been life changing,
Yeah.
right?
Everything about it's been life changing, man. Josh, I can't thank you enough for coming in. I am so inspired by what you have been able to accomplish. The cards, the odds were stacked against you in every way, and you lit the cards on fire and said, "Watch out, I'm coming." And now you've changed not only your life, your family's life,
Mm-hmm.
your purpose in life. Everything's different, dude.
Everything's different.
I'm honored to have you be on the team. I'm honored for you to be on the show. I can't thank you enough. I'm excited to continue to watch the journey and continue to watch you inspire other people. It's been fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm still, like I said, I'm still in the journey. Still got a long ways to go. I feel like,
We all do.
I think we all do.
It's a never-ending destination. There's always a next destination, right?
Yeah.
Continuous improvement, something that never stops.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man.
I do want to shout out Hannah Jane Apparel, HannahJane Apparel. Yep. And then you can find her on Instagram, Hannah Jane Apparel on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah. Check her stuff out. She got a great brand, up and coming. She's also going to make an impact and leave a legacy as well. And a lot of that started with this man right here, Josh Akers.
She's inspiring people every day. I love it.
We'll have to get her on the show too next time.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming
Thanks,
through,
Jim.
Josh.
Yeah,
Thanks.
man. Thanks.
Iron and Infrastructure Podcast. We're out. This episode is brought to you by Max Effort Muscle. For all your supplement needs, go to maxeffortmuscle.com.